We're going to get into our first topic, but before that, a quick word from FanDuel. Get buckets on your first bet with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because right now new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $150 if your team wins. You can bet on all your favorite NBA players and teams with quick bets, live same-game parlays, exclusive props, and so much more. Just visit FanDuel.com/UCSS to shoot your shot. FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NBA, an official sportsbook partner of the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. And as always, if you have a winning ticket, make sure you guys send it in to us, and we will feature it on the show. The Cavs did not win last night. No. We had no winning tickets because a lot of people had money on the Cavs. No. We'll talk about them in a sec, but we're going to start today in free agency with the Cleveland Browns. And we're going big game hunting, guys.
Yes.
We spent a few days talking about receivers. We did Mike Williams yesterday. We did Mike Evans earlier in the week. We did the blind dating game. So for the sake of this discussion, none of the receivers are included. I picked some of the biggest other upcoming free agents. Some of these guys will probably be tagged, but for the sake of this, we're going to pretend they all hit the open market. And I need you to tell the viewers and tell me which one of these guys you think would be the best fit within the Browns scheme and whether or not player X would be worth backing up the Brinks truck for.
I thought yesterday you said we could.
Yeah, you can say yes to all of them. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But I'm just saying this
you
player.
just said who would be the best.
Okay, yeah.
I did phrase that wrong.
Yeah.
Would this player be a great fit in the Browns?
Gotcha. Okay.
And is he worth backing up the Brinks truck for? We're going to go one at a time. So I'll give you a player. You guys tell me if this player would be worth giving a massive contract in situation.
Good plan. Go ahead.
Okay, we'll start.
Yeah.
The biggest fish out there, Chris Jones. If he were to hit the open market, is this a player you'd be okay with Andrew Berry backing up the Brinks truck for and him fitting seamlessly in this Cleveland Browns defense?
For me, guys, that's 100% yes. Obviously, and he's older, so you want to be careful how many years you guaranteed. But this guy has proven he's an impact player on a championship team. He'd make a massive difference for the Browns.
This is a trick question.
Yeah.
Like, is this I'm confused why you act like I don't have Operation Stockpile out there. What are you talking about? Yeah, I'll take him. His mother-in-law, his uncle. We'll package deal. What you want, bro? Like, come on through. Yeah, stop. I might not even want no receiver. It's like I was lying. I still want Chris Jones and receivers. Yes.
Yeah, this one's easy.
Yeah.
But as we go forward on these, are we supposed to be, are we supposed to be realistic with this, or is this fantasy land where
this is
no
fantasy
cap?
land. Would you back the Brinks truck up for this player?
Okay,
now, like I said, some of these will be easier. Chris Jones, the biggest fish. I assumed everyone would say yes. So that was easy.
Right.
So hold on.
You can't. You don't want to just say yes to everybody, because if the guy's not worth in the Brinks truck for, then you say, well, I might want him, but I wouldn't pay an unlimited amount.
Hey, listen, Chris Jones with Myles Garrett is so good.
Yeah, Chris Jones is a superstar.
That you could afford Deshaun Watson playing average.
I won't go that far.
By the way,
he could be average.
By the way, all right, we got to get here because we're starting already. We got to get G. Bush and Earl are already laying the groundwork for uninspiring play for Deshaun Watson, and I don't like it. I don't like what I'm hearing. Earl did it yesterday, and now G. Bush just did it now. Unacceptable. Mm-hmm. The Browns did not trade for him for mediocrity.
Hey, listen.
They traded for him for greatness.
And now they're blowing up their entire offense for him.
And if Ken Dorsey calls plays, it's a sham, and it's been forced on Kevin Stefanski. So I don't want to hear about mediocrity with Deshaun Watson. He better play like a star, or I don't want to hear it.
Hey, listen, he could play with Chris Jones. He can play average, and they still make the playoffs.
They ain't winning nothing if he's playing average.
Hey, listen, I just said average. I said playoffs. I didn't say Super Bowl.
Unacceptable. Unacceptable average. Go ahead.
So we all agree on Chris Jones. He was the biggest fish.
Yeah.
I assumed everyone would say yes. The next 6, maybe we'll all agree on, but I think there'll be some more dissension. We'll stay with the same position, though. Justin Madubuike, who we'll talk about a little later on the TV show as well, if he's not franchise tagged by the Ravens, would Justin Madubuike be a good fit for the Browns and a player you'd be comfortable Andrew Berry giving a giant contract to?
G?
Yeah. Did you see him play last year? Of course I would. Look, I mean, that's 13 sacks from a defensive tackle. Let me just repeat that. 13 sacks from a defensive tackle is like the equivalent of a defensive back getting 15 picks in a year. Like, yes, I take him and I'll plug him in. Now, he ain't good as Chris Jones, but, I mean, this
But
guy
he's a lot
would,
younger than Chris
he
Jones.
would transform a lot of stuff. Like the Browns defense will be lit.
Jason?
Baltimore's not letting him go, but yes. I mean, if we're playing Fantasyland,
Yeah.
of course, bring him on. Yes. How would that not be a good fit? I think they're okay at tackle right now, but he would certainly be an upgrade over what they have.
I mean, I would actually want him even more than Chris Jones because he's younger.
Yeah.
I mean, Chris Jones is more a proven entity, but this guy's just reaching his stardom, I think.
Why would they let him go?
How old is
Well,
he?
they wouldn't.
How old
is?
He was a third-round pick, so he had a 4-year contract. 25 or 26.
I mean,
He's
Chris
just
Jones
getting-
is what, 30, 31?
Justin Madubuike is 26 years old, and Chris Jones is 29, about to turn 30.
Oh, hey, I'm still taking Chris Jones. I forgot. I didn't know he was that young.
Yeah.
I thought he was 32, 33.
He's still 4 years older. I'd back up the truck for either of them. But if I had to choose, I'd actually take Madubuike because I don't care how much guaranteed money I get. I'm confident he's going to be very good for the next 4 or 5 years. I don't know if Chris Jones is going to be good for 4 or 5 years.
I've seen Chris Jones dominate a Super Bowl.
Hey, listen.
By
Fair,
himself.
Fair.
And the only other defensive tackle I seen do that was him. And you already know who that is, Aaron Donald.
Nobody's better than him.
So D tackles. So
Yeah.
before we move on to the next position, those are the only 2 D tackles on the list.
Okay.
If the Browns were to make an acquisition at D tackle, not one of these 2, but just above the average, but a Dalvin Tomlinson level guy, you guys be
I
okay
wouldn't
with the
do
Browns
that.
spending money?
A Dalvin Tomlinson type guy doesn't make any sense for the Browns.
What do you mean?
Because you can't spend that kind of money on 2 pretty good defensive tackles. That doesn't make sense. That's not a position where I can't. Dalvin Tomlinson is a good, solid defensive tackle. He's not a game changer. He's not those guys.
Yeah.
So if I'm going to spend big on another defensive tackle, it's a superstar or I'll just get a solid guy.
It's either filling it or getting a
Yeah,
guy.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I don't want the tier 2 type of defensive tackle. I can't spend that kind of money on 2 tier 2 defensive tackles.
G and Jason, do you agree
That's
with
how
that?
I feel.
No, I'm with Bull.
Yeah, listen, I'm not getting no spot fillers. I don't want nobody just a placeholder. I need, like, when you see 13 sacks at defensive tackle, that means elite. That means, like, come on now. That's crazy. I don't want no guy that's just up here, just up front, taking up double teams. That don't make no sense.
Go ahead.
All right, moving on. Let's go to the offensive side of the ball. Saquon Barkley will not be back with the New York Giants next season. They have said they are going to let him test the free agent market. G. Bush, I'll start with you. If Saquon were to hit the free agency market, knowing what we know about Nick Chubb, I'll say possible and also most likely situation of a restructure with Chubb, would you be willing to give Saquon Barkley a bag this offseason?
Listen, let me tell you this. Nick Chubb has been always better with the two-back system. Given the fact that, he might not even be ready to go and getting his money off until week 6, this is an important position to me. And I said Saquon Barkley's name last year going into the offseason. Can you imagine having Saquon Barkley and Nick Chubb in the backfield? That is crazy. And he's a better third down back than Nick Chubb. He has been injured. Now, that's the only reason I would be like, yo, I'm kind of, I don't want to see if I want to go down that road. He's been injured. But I will say this. If I could get Saquon Barkley, I'd be willing to take a Mike Williams. And now I think the Cleveland Browns is ready to roll. I think they need another running back. People may say that Chubb already got to take a pay cut, but I would look at Saquon Barkley.
Yeah, I'm out on Saquon
There's
Barkley.
not enough oxygen for – you got to pick between Barkley and Chubb.
But, I don't want Barkley. I think he's overrated. I think he hasn't been the same player since the second year of the league. You look at it. I look at his yard. He's not the back he was when he first came in the league.
He's complete boomer bust.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't see the greatness in him.
I mean, the Giants is trash. They've been trash. They don't got a line. They don't got a quarterback. They don't got receivers.
Nick Chubb had some good years when the Browns were trash too. I mean,
the Browns offensive.
Christian McCaffrey had good years when the Carolina Panthers were trash.
I mean,
Derrick Henry had good years when the Titans stunk. So
the Browns have had
Yeah.
one of the top 5 lines for the 4 or 5 years. That's not
yeah, but
reviewed.
when Nick Chubb first came in the league, I don't know that their line was that good besides Joe Thomas.
I mean,
Maybe Bitonio. That's about it.
I mean, he's played behind some pretty good lines. Here's what I'm saying.
But you know what? If the Giants' line's so bad, then why did Barkley put up those big numbers his first 2 years? They weren't good then.
I
either.
mean, but do we want everybody to be Superman? Sometimes you're good.
I'm just not spent. Saquon Barkley thinks he's an elite back. I don't think he is.
I'll put it to you like this.
Yeah.
He is a massive upgrade from Jerome Ford, and he is an insurance policy if Nick Chubb comes back and it's not Nick Chubb.
I don't know. I mean, Jerome Ford averaged more yards per carry. That's not the only stat in the book.
You know he's not better than Saquon Barkley.
I don't think he is either. But I just don't think Saquon Barkley is going to be worth the money he wants. So I'm out. Jason?
Barkley had a massive year, not this year, last year.
2 years ago.
Yeah, he's not that far removed from a pretty great year, but I mean, at some point we have to somehow tether this to reality.
Yeah,
and reality is
tethering.
Reality is you're not going to have Nick Chubb and Saquon Barkley. You're going to have to choose one or the other. Decide. Like,
Well, the Chubb ain't Chubb. And you already going to ask Chubb to
even
take less
last
money,
year,
right?
Jason, when he was still good, statistically he was pretty good, 22. To me, watching him, not that I watch the Giants every week, but I watched him enough.
Yeah.
He just, to me, doesn't have that same burst and explosiveness that he had in his first couple of years.
Sometimes, here's the thing what we
Yeah.
get on running backs.
Yeah.
If the running back is good, we'll be like, oh, they're good, but does it really matter? You can get a running back and they can get the same yards. But if the running back is bad, they're like, why didn't you put those yards up? You're supposed to be making people in the hole miss. You're supposed to catch 90 balls. For me, I always say yes because it is. I'm operating under the assumption that y'all got 2 years. You got 2 years to get this off.
2? You got 1.
So my thing is,
But I want a different running back. I don't want Jerome Ford. I'm with you. I don't
Okay.
want to settle for Jerome Ford, especially in this la-la land.
so I'll take what you saying. You saying that you'll take another back. You just don't like this one particularly.
That's it. Especially when I think, even if I want to go that veteran route, like I could get an Austin Eckler and a Joe Mixon way cheaper than I can get Barkley, and I'm not sure there's much of a difference.
I could go. The guy I really want is Zach Moss.
Well, there you go. He had a good year last year.
You could get him for pennies on the dollar.
That's true.
Maybe $4 or $5 million bucks. And Zach Moss had a really nice year.
He did.
With the Colts.
Yep. All right, Mike.
Moving on, back to the defensive side of the ball. This player, just like Saquon, will almost certainly hit the real free agent market. It doesn't appear like there's a tag play in the near future.
A tag play.
A tag situation
sound
in
like
the near
some-
future.
that sound like
and
some
a
college stuff, but no.
contract
Yeah, right.
extension is looking more and
We're
more
not at
unlikely.
Emerson here, Mike.
I know. It's looking more and more unlikely if you read the reports out of Carolina. But
Yeah.
Brian Burns, the young, talented pass rusher, teaming him up with Myles Garrett on the other edge. Jason, is that a match made in heaven, or would that be too much to pay for an elite pass rusher on a contract that, as a 26-year-old, 25-year-old pass rusher, is going to be quite expensive?
No, I do think that that's one of the spots where I think they need to look this year is the edge rusher opposite of Myles. What are you going to do there? It's been a problem aside from Jadeveon Clowney's first year in Cleveland, it's been an issue really since he got here. So, and if you can find someone a little bit on the younger side, sure, and invest some dollars in, I would be fine with that.
Guys, he's a no-brainer, and here's why. First, not only is he really good, he's missed 3 games in his career in 5 years. That's it. He's played all but 3 games in his career. Now, he had his second lowest sack total this year, but he had nothing around him in Carolina.
Yeah.
And teams were running a lot. But he's never had less than 7.5 sacks in 5 years in the league, including his rookie year, 7.5 sacks. He's played mostly with lousy talent around him. This guy's a no-brainer, and he's young. I think he's just going to turn 26 next month or in April.
Yeah, he's 25 and
Yeah.
306 days.
Yeah, so he's about to turn
in 2
months. Prime of his career,
Those
no-brainer.
are the guys to
That's
target.
It. Yep. G.
Those are the hardest ones to find in free agency.
Yeah, he a young dude, 8 sacks. Okay. Well, you act like I'm looking at names or
You're in. You're in on everybody.
Operation Stockpile. What are you talking about? If you can get him, go
Yeah.
get him. Is there a reason why we shouldn't go get him? And plus, you've been looking for. I mean, you got Olivier Vernon, you got Emmanuel Ogbah, you got the Jadeveon Clowneys, and then you had Zadarius Smith. Those are all the sidekicks, right? Out of all of those sidekicks, I think Burns is better than those guys.
And Burns, unlike the other defensive players we talked about, as you said, is going to get to free agency most likely. He would be a guy worth realistically going crazy for. Ugh.
So I got one thing to say, then I got a secondary question on Burns. I do think Burns is a stud, a legitimate, bona fide opposite end pass rusher that would complement Myles Garrett. And Earl asked me this morning. I thought it was a fascinating question.
Mm-hmm.
If I said you have a choice between one of these two, who would you take? Burns or T. Higgins?
Come on, man.
It's not going to be a choice because T. Higgins will not be a free agent.
I'm just saying, in a world where both of these guys.
I'd still take T. Higgins. Even though Brian Burns is probably a slightly better end than T. Higgins as a wide receiver, but it's close. I'd take T. Higgins.
Yeah.
It's an offensive game,
Yeah.
and I got a good defense already.
The only way I would the only defensive player that I would be like, okay, well, we're not gonna get no T. Higgins. I'd have to have Chris Jones. Like it would have to be like, oh, you got Chris Jones and Myles Garrett. You're not doing nothing on them. I would take, but other than that, T. Higgins is definitely overall that.
Jason?
At some point, the answer is T. Higgins.
Yeah.
But at some point, you have to rely on your quarterback to make the receivers better. That's what the elite
Which is
quarterbacks
why they
do.
paid what they did for Deshaun
That's
Watson.
exactly right.
Yes.
And for all the conversations about they have to upgrade the talent receiver, and they do, it also falls on the quarterback to make the guys around
That's
him better.
correct.
That's what the elite quarterbacks in this league do. So a lot of the time, I would probably say the defensive guy, but I do think T. Higgins is really good and is in that special class to where I would take him.
Here's where I disagree. I don't disagree with your premise. I disagree that premise doesn't go for this era. Like, yeah, if we were in an era where Patrick Mahomes didn't exist, you could say, I'm going to just trust my quarterback to make everybody better. Deshaun Watson, if he upgraded all of them to 100%, the Browns still would have a hard time beating the Chiefs. He just would.
I mean, he's got better talent around him than the Chiefs do.
At receiver, absolutely. Outside of tight end.
But Patrick Mahomes is Jordan.
Agreed.
Jordan can roll with Paxton. The Cavs can't roll with Paxton.
That doesn't mean that Deshaun Watson shouldn't be able to make players better around him, which he hasn't so far.
Okay, and if he does, and he elevates the game, I'm looking at the huge thing. Okay, you elevate. You had a nice season. Nice seasons ain't got nothing to do with the playoffs. Now, elevate, like you can it ain't no more like elevating Elijah Moore to his 100%. That ain't gonna get nothing done.
I mean, last year people were talking about 1,000 yards.
That was ridiculous.
But
we tripped.
Jason's point is fair. Some of it's on Deshaun Watson.
It is.
Better.
It is.
There's no doubt.
But the other thing you got to look at too is the competition is steep. Like the difference between a superstar and a star, maybe a couple little plays right here through there. But the amount of people that are good is just different. Like, so yeah, you need all the above. You need him to elevate people. You need better talent. You need to have a playbook that can get you some easy yards, and you need a defense. You ain't just one or the other.
That's true.
So take Higgins out of the equation then.
Yeah.
What's the next tier of receiver you would take, or you would take Burns over? So where does it go? So no Higgins. Is it Evans? Is it Pittman? Like where does it go before you take Burns over
I would
receiver?
take Higgins and Pittman over Burns. I think Evans is the tough one because of his age.
Evans. The Evans one is tough because I would get really excited.
Nobody else. He's the only one. Yeah, I'd take Burns over Ridley. I'd take Burns over Marquise Brown.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Jason, where are you on Burns versus Mike Evans? I think that's the tough one if you had to choose between the two.
How old's Mike Evans?
He's 30, but he just led the NFL in touchdowns, had 1,255 yards.
See, it's hard because this is where it's really hard because the Browns' window is right now. So you can't really worry. In theory, you would take the 25, 26-year-old defensive back.
Right.
But in reality, you got to go right now.
I think I'd go Evans if I had to choose. But I would go Burns, like I said, over Ridley and Marquise Brown. I think that's a notch below.
Yeah. Oh, I would take Evans over Ridley
Burns over Ridley
for sure.
Or Brown. Or
Evans is hard.
Yeah.
If you, I'll ask you guys if you said the Browns was going to do irrational things with money and pay guys that are a little older, then there's a chance that they could either be hurt or like they just fall off a cliff. But they had a 75% chance of making the playoffs and a 50% chance of winning the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Would you take that and know that in 3 years the Browns' ceiling would be 8 wins?
Oh, 100%. I would always give up future possibilities for,
like they're 7 wins, 8-win team because they got it. They got to.
Especially when you're desperate, and in a way, look. I think the comparison for the Browns in a weird way can be both the Cubs and the Indians at the time in 2016. Both those organizations at that time felt very desperate. They knew they had really good teams. And what did they do? The Cubs and Indians traded for Aroldis Chapman and Andrew Miller, respectively. Yeah. They said, forget it. Both teams traded good prospects. The Cubs traded even better prospects. And they said, we have to win now. This is our chance. And that's in baseball, where in football you can lock it up even more because there's less randomness to who wins the championship in football. So to me, you have to be 100% all in. Like, if I had to give up another couple of first-round picks to get a great wide receiver right now, I'd do that. Yeah. I'd do whatever it took to be good this year. Now, we haven't talked about wide receivers in the trade front. I know we're not on wide receivers right now.
We could do it for a second.
But I'm trying to think, is there any good wide receiver that could be traded this year, realistically?
Earl mentioned A.J. Brown on his show yesterday.
I love Earl. You know I love you, Earl. I don't want to get into that because his trade proposal, what he told me yesterday, was the most absurd thing I've ever heard in my life. So I'm not going to call him out for it because it was ridiculous.
Stephon Diggs stuff.
Why on earth would the Eagles trade A.J. Brown? There's zero chance they're trading A.J. Brown.
Stephon Diggs.
And if they were going to do it, they weren't going to do it for Greg Newsome. Sorry, Earl.
No chance. Devontae Adams doesn't really make too much sense.
No, Devontae Adams is too old at this point.
Yeah, like his window was like 2 years ago.
So I just don't see, I guess Adams could be traded, but I'm not breaking the bank for him. I don't think the Bills are trading Stephon Diggs. There's no way Philly's trading A.J. Brown. There's no way the Bengals are trading Chase. Jefferson's not getting traded.
Now, I will say this is one of the best receiver drafts in a long time.
Then trade up. That's what you do. But do you trust the Browns to get it right?
Or do you trust a rookie to be that
Well, yeah. The special rookies are that good. We saw it last year with Tank Dell.
And again,
and Puka
and Jordan Addison.
Go earlier, draft earlier, and give yourself a bigger target to shoot at.
That's right.
Part of the reason I think the Browns have struggled drafting receivers is because of where they're taking them.
That's fair.
And there's not that many. We've pointed out the 1 or 2 guys that they've missed that have hit after they've selected guys, but it's not a high number.
Yeah.
You got to go earlier to get these guys.
Most of the top quarterbacks are top 40 picks. Either first round or early second round. It's the same thing at receiver.
Yeah.
Most of them are top 40 picks.
There's always 1 or 2 that fall through the cracks.
Of course.
And that's more luck.
Yes.
Than anything.
Because obviously it's easy to say now, Amon-Ra St. Brown was a 4th-round pick. And somebody should have known that.
Yes.
But for whatever reason.
Detroit didn't think he was worth the second-rounder either.
Right.
They got lucky. And the same with Puka Nacua.
Yeah.
The Rams can pat themselves on the back and say that they knew he was going to be a star or whatever.
Yeah.
But if they really thought that, they would have taken him in the second round or third round.
Right. Now, Bull, I will say this. Now, if they took a different approach and said, well, look, we already had the Defensive Player of the Year. We had Schwartz. This is his second year.
Yeah.
We think we're going to try to do this a different way. Now, if they go out and get me 2 stud defensive players, I'll have to go to Deshaun Watson and be like, hey, you got to throw for 4,500, dog. We ain't getting no receivers. We're going to try to develop these young dudes, get a dude late. But if you gave me 2 stud defenders where I could put it with Myles Garrett and they say, we're going to try to win it a little bit different, right? Then you would have to look at Deshaun Watson and say, hey, we can't have it all. It's more than one way to skin a cat.
Mm-hmm.
Couple more guys going back to the defensive side of the ball. Another guy who will almost assuredly hit free agency, Levante David at linebacker. As it currently stands, the Browns just don't have many linebackers signed under contract. Would you take a flyer on Levante David?
How old is he now?
He's 30, but he's coming off a very productive season.
30?
Steve,
I thought he was actually older than that, so that's not bad.
He's a monster.
I wouldn't. There's almost no linebackers I would back up the truck for.
Yeah.
Lord,
he's a really good player.
I mean, can you imagine?
I think he's 34. I'm way off. 34.
My apologies. Right.
I thought he was old. No, I'm not.
My hand up. My bad.
I know he had a good year last year, but no, he's a 34-year-old linebacker. No thanks.
Is it a 1-year deal? A
1-year deal. Yeah, pay him. I'll pay him whatever.
I'll pay him a 1-year deal. I'll rock with him. That production with JOK He's one of the best linebackers in coverage. His boy Devin White, I think, is a free agent, and boy has he fallen off. But Lavonte David is, he's a monster. He's a monster. He's one of the top.
Jason, where are you on Lavonte David?
1 year deal, but nothing more than that.
Yeah,
I'm not backing up the truck, because backing up the truck means I got to give him multi.
Yeah,
So you're not matching. Essentially, the question is, would you match whatever his best offer
No,
out
no.
there is?
Oh
I don't think the Browns are matching that.
I ain't that crazy.
No, we're all on the same page. Okay, this next player will most likely be franchise tag. Will probably not actually hit the market, but I'm assuming because you said yes to Brian Burns, you would also say yes to Josh Allen if he were to hit the free agent market. This is the Jaguars' Josh Allen, not the quarterback.
Oh, hell.
Well, I'd say yes to both Josh Allens.
Right. Anybody named Josh. Anybody with the name, the initials J.A., I'm taking them.
Yeah, I'll throw J.A. Adonde in there, too.
Jared Allen?
Shout out.
Josh Allen's better than Brian Burns, isn't he?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think they're in the same tier of pass rush. He's more productive.
I think Josh Allen is a better athlete.
Yeah,
more
I'm taking
explosive.
Josh Allen.
And by the way, I give him, and he's young too, right?
He's 26.
Oh yeah, he's getting. I'd max him out.
Can we trade for the other Josh Allen?
What do you think it would take the Bills to give up Josh Allen?
Nothing.
7 first-rounders? And Greg Newsome.
That's funny.
You know what's funny? Real
good.
quick.
Yeah.
Earl and Anthony have a mic. And no matter how much they know they have a mic here, when they chime in, they just
They don't
yell.
use it.
They just yell.
Is this thing on?
Yeah,
you go.
Yeah.
All right, last one before we move on.
Josh Allen. I like
This is a
that
position, not necessarily of need, but a position of interest. Well, Antoine Winfield Jr., the all-pro safety from the Bucs, probably a tag candidate, but if he were to hit the open market, Bull, I know you didn't love the safeties when we did the Championship Foundation earlier this week. Would you match any deal for Antoine Winfield Jr.?
In a la-la land where I don't have to worry about cap, yes. I mean, I guess I just said that. I mean, he's a fantastic player, and I think their safeties are overrated. So I would, but
They've missed in free agents. If you want to call Juan Thornhill a miss, I don't think he's a total miss.
no, he's not. No, John Johnson was a miss.
John Johnson was a
Thornhill's
total
like,
miss.
okay, he was fine.
Yeah. But I don't know that they've gotten what they've expected to get out of their last 2 free agent
No.
safeties. I think that's
so
fair to
I
say.
would rather have him than anybody they
He's
have.
the best safety in the league almost. Like if you have him
He's up there.
like
He was awesome this year.
like come on, 6 sacks.
Yeah, I would take it.
That's great. He has 18. No, that's his career. Sorry. Don't let me. Can I see last year?
Yeah, we'll give you 1 sec, G.
Is he better than Jesse Bates?
Oh Lord, he has 6 sacks, 120. Yeah, he's I'll take him. It's not a position of need. Because I actually like the guys they got behind him a little bit too. I like some of those dudes. I like, you know what I'm saying, the kid from Ohio
Ronnie
State,
Hickman.
I like him. I like Bell. He's a special teams guy, but I mean, this guy right here is a dude that can put your defense on a different level. So if they came to me and was like, look, if you this is La La Land, right? But if you said, hey, all right, we're gonna get what's the name, Jones?
Yeah.
We're gonna get Chris Jones and we're gonna get Winfield. Well, looks like the Cleveland Browns.
The Browns better not give up 30 points to the Texans in the playoffs.
Yeah, by the way, you got to go to Schwartz and be like, whatever you was running against them Texans, don't run that no more. Get that out of the playbook.
No excuses. All right, Mike.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate you guys being a little patient on that exercise. Some good discussion. And I do think there's a chance that one of those 7 lands in the Cleveland Browns.
Which one?
If I'm Andrew Berry, I'm selling out for Brian Burns. I really think he's a perfect fit.
I think he's probably the only one that makes sense for them if you consider what they need. And half those guys are not going to make it to free agency.
That's the other part of it,
Yeah.
I also think, though, in a perfect world, a 1-year deal for Lavonte David
Sure,
would be awesome.
on a 1-year deal.
Would be perfect. I think he'll get more years and more money elsewhere, so the Browns probably won't match. But in a perfect scenario, Lavonte David next to JOKG.
Man, that's tough.
Special.
That's tough.
All right,